I'm Brianna, 29, and my family secretly plotted to hand over my house to my golden child brother and his pregnant wife. Before I tell you about how I sold it right out from under them and triggered a complete family meltdown, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. I spent my entire life being the backup option nobody actually cared about. My older brother, Tyler, is 32. He has always been the shining star of our house, while I was just kind of there. I was the reliable one they could depend on, but never really valued. The afterthought, the safety net, the one who would always be fine no matter what happened. Growing up in Tyler's shadow was not just my normal. It was my entire childhood identity. I remember being 8 years old when Tyler got a brand new PlayStation for his birthday. Top-of-the-line system, 3 controllers, dozens of games. When my birthday rolled around 3 months later, I inherited his old handheld device with sticky buttons and a flickering screen. My mom actually acted like she was doing me a massive favor by letting me have it. When Tyler joined the middle school basketball team, my parents immediately rearranged their entire work schedules to attend every single game. Tuesday evenings, Thursday evenings, weekend tournaments. My dad would leave work early. My mom would swap her shifts at the clinic. They would sit in the bleachers cheering their lungs out while Tyler mostly sat on the bench. He was not even a starter. He was just a mediocre player who occasionally got subbed in during the fourth quarter when the outcome was already decided by the athletic kids. But they never missed a single game. Meanwhile, I was pulling straight A's. I made the honor roll 4 years in a row. I competed in state-level debate tournaments. My certificates went on the kitchen fridge for maybe 3 days before my mom would replace them with Tyler's latest barely passing grade. A C- in English somehow deserved a bigger celebration than my academic achievements. Whenever I asked why they could not make my debate competitions, my mom always had the same excuse ready. Tyler needs extra encouragement. You are so independent, Brianna. You have always been our little adult. You do not need us there the same way he does. Little adult. I heard that phrase so many times growing up, it might as well have been printed on my birth certificate. Little adult was just their code word for we do not need to pay attention to you because you are not causing us any immediate problems. The favoritism only got worse as we got older. Tyler dropped out of college after 3 semesters, completely funded by my parents. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs to cover my own tuition. I won scholarships. I graduated with a 3.7 GPA. My reward for 4 years of exhausting work was a text message saying congrats and a $50 Target gift card. No party. No celebration dinner. Nothing. I did not even get a picture with them in my cap and gown. They skipped my college graduation ceremony to drive 2 states over and watch Tyler play in an amateur softball tournament. A tournament his team lost in the first round. They did not even apologize. They just said Tyler really needed their support that day and I would understand when I was older. The unfairness burned in my chest, but I kept pushing forward. I figured if I just proved myself enough, worked hard enough, and achieved enough, they would eventually see me. I thought they would eventually recognize that I was worth their time. I was dead wrong. By age 27, I had saved enough from my corporate job to buy a modest 3-bedroom ranch house. It was nothing fancy, but the bricks and mortar were mine. Every mortgage payment, every leaky pipe repair, every piece of furniture, I handled it completely alone. I still remember signing the closing papers. The realtor shook my hand and congratulated me on buying property solo at my age. I drove to my new house, walked through the empty living room, and cried proud tears. I had actually done it. I built my own sanctuary. I thought having my own home would finally give me peace. I had no idea it was about to become the ultimate target. While I was building my life, Tyler and his wife Kayla kept floundering from one self-inflicted disaster to another. Tyler treated employment like a seasonal hobby. He would be wildly enthusiastic for the first few weeks of a new job. He would buy new gear, talk about his fast track to management, and brag to our parents. Then he would become increasingly flaky until he either quit or got fired. He had 7 jobs in 5 years. Retail, warehouse work, delivery driving, call center, customer service. He never lasted more than 4 months anywhere. His pattern was painfully predictable. Within a month, he would complain about his boss being unreasonable or his coworkers being dramatic. By month 3, he would start calling in sick because his back hurt or his car made a weird noise. By month 4, he would be unemployed again with some grand story about how the job just was not a good fit culturally. Kayla was not helping matters. She had a compulsive spending problem that made their financial situation exponentially worse. She bought designer purses she could not afford. They ate restaurant meals 3 times a week. She drove a leased silver BMW M3 that cost more monthly than most people's rent. She would blow through their paychecks before the money even cleared the bank, then act shocked when the account was overdrawn. Together, they were a walking financial disaster. The cryptocurrency incident was peak Tyler brilliance. He got obsessed with digital currency after watching YouTube videos of influencers driving rented Lamborghinis. He became convinced he had discovered the secret to getting rich quick without actually working. He borrowed $10,000 from our parents. They really could not afford to loan out that kind of money from their savings, but they gave it to him anyway. Tyler dumped every penny into some obscure digital coin that was supposedly about to explode. He had this massive spreadsheet showing my parents how his investment would multiply tenfold within 6 months. The coin crashed within 3 weeks. It lost 90% of its value overnight when the creators pulled the rug and disappeared with the cash. Tyler's 10 grand became about $800 in basically worthless digital tokens. Did he learn a single thing from this massive failure? Absolutely not, because my parents just kept bailing him out. Every few months there was a new manufactured crisis. Rent was overdue. The BMW was about to be repossessed. Credit cards were maxed out. Utilities were getting shut off. And my parents, despite being firmly middle class with extremely limited retirement savings, would somehow come up with the cash to save him. When their own funds dried up from constantly rescuing Tyler, guess who they turned to? My phone would ring while I was sitting at my desk at work. It was always my dad. His voice would have this careful, measured tone, like he was trying to de-escalate a hostage situation. He would say, "It is just a small loan, Brianna. Tyler is in a really tough spot right now. He has this big job interview lined up, but they just need to get through this month first." Those small loans added up terrifyingly fast. $500 here when their rent was short. $1,200 when Kayla's precious car needed emergency repairs. $800 when Tyler's phone got shut off and he supposedly needed it for job applications. $3,000 when they were about to be evicted and had nowhere else to turn. Over 5 years, I handed my brother $15,000. That was 15 grand I had earned through actual grueling work. Money I had saved by making daily sacrifices. Money that was supposed to be building my own future. Gone. Flushed away to subsidize Tyler's complete inability to function as an adult. I knew that money was never coming back. I kept meticulous records anyway. I had a spreadsheet with every loan amount, the date, and their written promise to pay me back as soon as things stabilized. Things never stabilized. Tyler never paid back a single penny. My extended family started noticing the dynamic at our gatherings. Family barbecues became uncomfortable social experiments where people would make passive-aggressive comments. My Aunt Beverly would sip her iced tea on the patio and say, "It is so wonderful of you to support your brother's journey, Brianna. Not everyone would be so giving." The way she emphasized the word giving made it crystal clear she knew I was being played for a fool. My Uncle Rich was far less subtle. At Thanksgiving, he made loud comments right within Tyler's earshot. He said, "Must be nice having a rich sister who bails you out every time you screw up. Some of us had to figure life out on our own without a safety net." Tyler just smirked and shrugged his shoulders, completely unbothered by the heavy criticism. Why would he care? As long as the cash kept flowing into his bank account, he had absolutely no reason to change his behavior. I kept showing up to these family dinners, exhausted after 10-hour shifts, bringing takeout food, only to find Tyler and Kayla sprawled on my parents' couch demanding favors. I was reaching my breaking point. I just needed one final push. The dinner that changed my entire life happened on an unseasonably warm Thursday evening in October. I had just wrapped a massive corporate project at work. I spent 3 grueling months analyzing compliance protocols for a corporate merger that finally got approved. My team celebrated with cake in the break room that afternoon. I was exhausted but genuinely happy. I was ready to go home, lock my doors, and celebrate in peace with a hot bubble bath and some trashy reality TV. Instead, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Family dinner tonight. 6:30. Do not be late." The exclamation points should have warned me immediately. My mom only used excessive punctuation when she wanted something big. I pulled my car up to my parents' house around 6:20. I parked right behind Tyler's beat-up sedan and Kayla's shiny leased BMW. The monthly payment on that car was easily $1,400, which was utter insanity considering Tyler was currently unemployed again. The heavy smell of my mom's homemade lasagna hit me the second I opened the front door. It is my absolute favorite dish. My mom only made lasagna from scratch for major holidays or when she was about to ask for a massive favor. I should have turned around right then. I should have faked a sudden migraine or a compliance emergency at the office. But some stupid, hopeful part of me still wanted a normal family dinner. My mom called out from the kitchen, her voice dripping with unnatural cheerfulness. "Perfect timing, Brianna. We are just about ready to eat." Tyler and Kayla were already positioned in the living room like royalty holding court. Tyler had claimed my dad's leather recliner. Kayla sat on the couch with her feet tucked under her, scrolling on her phone. Neither of them even said hello when I walked in. Tyler just gave me a stiff nod. The dining room table was set for 4 with my mom's good china. The fancy serving platters she got as wedding gifts 30 years ago were out on the table. Red flags were waving everywhere. I was walking completely blind into an ambush. Dinner started normally enough. My dad asked about my job. I gave him the short version of my project success. I literally watched his eyes glaze over with boredom as I explained the compliance protocols. He quickly shifted his attention to Tyler. Tyler dominated the conversation. He spent 20 straight minutes explaining his latest delusional money-making scheme. House flipping. Apparently, binge-watching 3 days of renovation shows on HGTV had transformed my unemployed brother into a master real estate investor. The key is finding undervalued properties in up-and-coming neighborhoods, Tyler said, pointing his fork at my dad. You buy low, do some cosmetic updates yourself, then sell high when the market appreciates. It is basically free money if you know what you are doing. Tyler did not know how to swing a hammer. He had no real estate license, 0 capital, and a credit score that belonged in a horror movie. But my parents nodded along with massive smiles, acting like he was presenting a legitimate Wall Street business plan. Kayla jumped in, her eyes wide with fake excitement. We have been looking at properties online all week. There is this adorable little bungalow that just needs some fresh paint and new countertops. It could easily be worth $300,000 after renovations. They had exactly $0 in their bank account for a down payment. I pushed my pasta around my plate and counted down the seconds until I could leave. Then my mom cleared her throat. It was that deliberate, fake little cough she does when she is about to drop a bomb. So she began glancing at my dad for backup. We have been having some serious family discussions about Tyler and Kayla's living situation. I gripped my fork tighter. I braced myself for another loan request. In my head, I was rapidly calculating my current checking balance, figuring out how much I could spare without touching my savings. They have been having a really tough time since their rent went up. My mom continued, her voice turning thick with sticky sympathy. And with a baby on the way, things are just too tight. My jaw physically dropped. I interrupted her. Wait, a baby? Kayla was pregnant. This was massive family news, and nobody had bothered to mention it to me, even though I had been over for dinner 3 times that month. My mom gasped and covered her mouth in a terrible theatrical performance. Oh, we thought you knew. Kayla is 11 weeks along. She is due in late April. I looked across the table at Kayla. She was smiling with this incredibly smug, self-satisfied expression. Like getting pregnant while completely broke and unemployed was some heroic achievement. Tyler, a man who could not keep a warehouse job for 3 months, was about to be responsible for a human infant. So anyway, my mom said quickly, eager to bulldoze right past my shock. We found the absolute perfect solution to help them out. They are going to move into your house next month. The room went completely silent. My stomach violently dropped. I felt like I was free-falling off a skyscraper. I stared at my mother's face, waiting for the punchline. I waited for my dad to laugh. Nobody laughed. My house, I finally choked out. The words felt like sandpaper in my throat. It just makes perfect sense. My dad jumped in immediately. He used his calm, reasonable problem-solver tone. You have 3 bedrooms, Brianna. You are living there completely alone. That is a lot of house for just one single person to manage. Tyler and Kayla desperately need room for the baby. That front bedroom of yours with the big bay window would be absolutely perfect for a nursery. My front bedroom. My bay window. My house. The house I bought with my own money, my own credit, my own blood and sweat. We could paint the walls pale yellow. Kayla chimed in, not even looking up from her phone screen. Gender neutral for now until we find out what we are having. And we will need to baby-proof everything, obviously. We have to take down those sharp glass coffee tables of yours. She was talking about ripping apart my home like it was already a done deal. Like my opinion was just annoying paperwork they had to file. We figured you could just take the tiny spare bedroom in the back for now, my mom said, reaching over to pat my rigid hand. Or you can stay here with us temporarily. Or maybe go find a small apartment downtown since you do not need space. This way, you will not have to worry about cleaning such a large house all by yourself. It is really what is best for everyone. Family takes care of family. They were not asking me. They were evicting me. They had held secret meetings, planned renovations, and decided to confiscate my largest financial asset. I looked around that dining table. My dad was nodding proudly. My mom looked thrilled with her genius plan. Tyler had a sickening smirk glued to his face because he had finally won the ultimate prize. Kayla was already browsing cribs on Amazon. Something deep inside my chest cracked open. It was not a loud explosion. It was cold and sharp. For 29 years, I swallowed my disappointment. I handed over my hard-earned cash. I smiled through their insults. And this was my ultimate reward. They wanted to steal my home and hand it to the golden child. I looked my mother dead in the eyes and forced the brightest, fakest smile of my life. You know what? I said smoothly. That sounds reasonable. The tension in the room instantly vanished. My mom let out a huge breath. My dad beamed at me. Tyler and Kayla exchanged a triumphant look. We figured we could load the moving truck and move in early next month. Tyler said casually, like he was borrowing a lawnmower. That gives you roughly 3 weeks to pack up your stuff and get out. 3 weeks to surrender my life. That works, I answered. I took a slow sip of ice water to hide my shaking hands. I will start packing up my things this weekend. Perfect. My mom clapped her hands together. I knew you would understand, Brianna. You have always been so mature and practical. Not everyone would be this generous. I nodded, swallowing the absolute rage burning in my throat. I let them talk about nursery decorations for another hour before making my excuse to leave. When I finally got to my car, I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I did not cry. The sadness was gone. I was just purely, dangerously furious. If they wanted my house, they could have it. Just not the way they expected. 2 months before this nightmare dinner, my boss Jennifer had called me into her corner office. I thought it was a routine performance review. Instead, she slid a glossy folder across her desk. It was an offer for a senior compliance analyst position at our corporate headquarters in Chicago. It came with a massive promotion and a 35% salary bump. The catch was that I had to relocate immediately. At the time, I turned it down. I thought I needed to stay close to my family. Sitting in my dark car in my parents' driveway, the Chicago offer suddenly felt like a golden lifeboat. I drove straight home, bypassed the kitchen, and opened my laptop on the kitchen island. I dug through my archived emails, found Jennifer's original offer, and hit reply. Hi Jennifer. I have been thinking heavily about the Chicago position. I would like to officially accept if the offer is still on the table. When would you need me to start? My phone dinged with her reply 20 minutes later. The offer is absolutely yours, Brianna. We need you here by November 1st. November 1st. Exactly 3 weeks away. The exact same timeline my brother had graciously given me to pack up my life. I typed my response instantly. November 1st works perfectly. I will see you in Chicago. By midnight, I had signed the digital offer letter, secured my new salary, and formulated a ruthless plan. The very next morning at 8 a.m., I called a highly rated real estate agent named Sarah who specialized in aggressive, fast property sales. She walked through my front door by noon. I gave her a sanitized version of the truth. I was relocating for a massive promotion, and I needed to liquidate the property immediately. If you want to move this house in under a week, we need to price it to start a bidding war, Sarah said, tapping her iPad. I suggest listing it for exactly $10,000 under current market value. Buyers will swarm. Do it, I told her. List it today. A professional photographer was in my living room 3 hours later. By Monday morning, my beautiful 3-bedroom house was officially on the open market. I even agreed to leave all the major kitchen appliances and my living room furniture in the sale to sweeten the deal. The exact same furniture Kayla had been planning to use. For the next 3 weeks, I played my role like an Oscar-winning actress. I lived a complete double life. My mom would text me every morning asking for updates. How is the packing going, sweetie? Tyler is so excited. I would reply with a smiley face emoji. Packing is going great. Getting lots of boxes organized today. I was not lying. I was packing my belongings into heavy-duty boxes, but they were headed for a moving truck bound for Illinois, not my parents' spare bedroom. Tyler sent me a text asking if I could leave my expensive mounted flat-screen TV on the living room wall since his was cracked. I stared at the message, smiled coldly, and replied, I will see what I can do. Kayla actually had the nerve to call me while she was standing in the paint aisle at Home Depot. She wanted my opinion on picking between buttercup yellow and lemon chiffon for the nursery walls. I held the phone away from my ear, listened to her babble, and told her buttercup yellow would catch the morning light beautifully. Behind the scenes, the house sale moved with lightning speed. Because I underpriced it, we received 4 cash offers within 48 hours. I accepted the strongest offer from a sweet young newlywed couple buying their first home. We fast-tracked the inspections and scheduled the final closing date for the exact Friday before Tyler's designated move-in weekend. I hired professional long-distance movers. Every night after work, I systematically erased my presence from the house. I took down my photos. I packed my winter clothes. I cleaned out the garage. 3 days before moving day, Tyler sent me a long text message. It was the longest thing he had ever written to me. Just wanted to say thanks for being so cool about handing over the house, Bree. I know it is a big change for you, but having a stable place to raise the baby is everything. You are the best sister ever. I read the message twice. The sheer audacity made my blood run cold. He genuinely believed he deserved the deed to my house just for existing. I did not reply. I just deleted the message thread. On Wednesday, Kayla texted asking if I would be around on Saturday morning to help them unload their rental truck into my house. She promised to buy me a cheap pizza as a thank you for my manual labor. I told her I was going to be completely unavailable that day, but wished them the best of luck with their big move. Thursday night was my final night in my home. The movers had already packed up the back bedrooms. I slept on a cheap air mattress in the middle of the empty living room floor. My car in the driveway was packed to the roof with my personal essentials, my laptop, and a cooler of road trip snacks. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling I had painted myself. For a brief, fleeting second, a wave of guilt washed over me. Was I taking this too far? Was I being too cruel to my own blood? Then I remembered the smug smirk on Tyler's face. I remembered my parents draining my emergency funds. I remembered 29 years of being the disposable daughter. The guilt evaporated instantly, replaced by pure, freezing resolve. Tomorrow was going to be fireworks. Friday morning arrived crisp and cold. The professional moving crew backed their massive truck into my driveway at exactly 6 a.m. Because I had organized everything meticulously, they loaded my entire life into the truck in under 4 hours. By 10:30 a.m., my physical ties to the state were rolling down the highway toward Illinois. At noon, I drove to the title company's pristine glass office downtown. I sat across a mahogany conference table from the real estate agent and the young couple buying my house. I signed my name on approximately 50 different legal documents. I watched the final wire transfer hit my bank account. The money cleared. The deed transferred. I slid the brass house keys across the table to the glowing newlyweds. "The neighborhood is so lovely," the new wife said, beaming as she held the keys. "We actually met the couple next door yesterday while we were driving by. They mentioned someone named Tyler was planning to move in. I told them we just bought the place. They were very confused. My jaw tightened to hide my grin. I kept my expression perfectly neutral. "How interesting," I said smoothly. "I wonder who Tyler is. You will have to let me know if he shows up." The contract stipulated that the new owners took possession immediately upon signing. They had scheduled their own moving truck to arrive at the house the following morning at 9 a.m. That was the exact same time Tyler had told me he was bringing his U-Haul to take over my property. The collision course was locked in. By 2 p.m., my car was merged onto Interstate 80 West. My gas tank was full, my music was blasting loud, and I felt lighter than I had in a decade. Around 3:30 p.m., my phone sitting in the cup holder lit up. It was a call from my mom. I ignored it. 5 minutes later, Tyler called. Ignored. Then my dad. Ignored. For the next 4 hours of driving, my phone vibrated so aggressively it actually shimmied across the center console. I did not pull over. I did not check the screen. I just watched the highway markers fly by, singing along to the radio while the bomb detonated 300 miles behind me. I finally pulled into the parking garage of my new luxury apartment complex in downtown Chicago at 7 p.m. I grabbed my overnight bag, rode the elevator up to the 15th floor, and unlocked the door to my new life. The apartment was completely empty, echoing with quiet peace. I ordered spicy pad thai from a restaurant down the street. I sat cross-legged on the cold hardwood floor, opened the takeout container, and finally picked up my phone. I had 63 missed calls and 147 unread text messages. I opened the voicemails first. My mom's messages charted a terrifying progression of human panic. Message 1. "Brianna, sweetie, call me back. Tyler is at the house with the U-Haul, but his key is not working, and there is another moving truck in the driveway. Call me." Message 2. "Brianna, where are you? There are strangers inside your house claiming they own it. Tyler is arguing with them on the front lawn. This is not a funny prank. Pick up your phone right now." Message 3. Her voice completely hysterical and sobbing. "They have a deed, Brianna. The police are here looking at the paperwork. How could you do this to your own brother? To your family? Where are they supposed to live tonight? The U-Haul is full. Call us back. We can fix this." I calmly ate a bite of noodles and switched to the text messages. My dad's texts were strictly aggressive commands. "Explain yourself immediately. This is unacceptable behavior. You have made a massive mistake, young lady. Call me the second you read this. There will be severe consequences for this betrayal." Tyler had sent a frantic wall of text that bordered on a complete mental breakdown. What the hell is going on? Did you seriously sell the house to strangers? Where the hell are we supposed to go? Kayla is screaming and crying in the driveway. She is pregnant. You are destroying my family. You are making us homeless. I thought we were blood. You have always been jealous of me. You are a psycho. Kayla added her own dramatic venom to the group chat. We are literally sleeping in a U-Haul tonight because of you. You are taking away your unborn niece's chance at a stable life. I will never, ever forgive you for this. You are a monster. My parents had apparently activated the entire family phone tree to apply maximum social pressure. Messages flooded in from aunts, uncles, and cousins. Cousin Lindsay wrote, "Really mature, Brianna. running away like a coward instead of helping your pregnant sister-in-law. Aunt Beverly wrote, "Your poor mother is hyperventilating in my kitchen. I hope you are proud of the damage you caused today." I sat there on the floor, reading every single hateful word. They were calling me a monster for selling my own property. They were blaming me for making a 32-year-old man homeless. I swallowed my food, wiped my fingers on a napkin, and opened the main family group chat. I typed one single factual message. I accepted a massive promotion in Chicago and needed to sell my house immediately. The sale closed yesterday morning. You should have checked with me before packing your boxes. Good luck with everything. I hit send. Then, methodically, I went through my contact list. I blocked my mom. I blocked my dad. I blocked Tyler. I blocked Kayla. I blocked Aunt Beverly, Uncle Rich, Cousin Lindsay, and every other flying monkey who had sent me a nasty text. I blocked them on my phone, blocked them on Facebook, blocked them on Instagram. With every single block, a heavy iron chain snapped off my chest. I turned my phone to silent, tossed it on the kitchen counter, and took a boiling hot shower. I slept on my air mattress that night and had the deepest, most peaceful sleep of my entire adult life. It has been exactly 6 months since I ghosted my toxic family and started fresh in Chicago. Let me tell you, it was the best decision I have ever made in my entire life. My new job is phenomenal. The corporate team actually respects my boundaries and values my input. Because of my hard work, I already received another promotion to lead analyst, which came with a huge salary increase. I made a solid group of friends here who know absolutely nothing about my past. They just see me as Brianna, not the family safety net. I also started dating a guy named Mark. He is a financial risk analyst. He treats me with incredible respect and actually plans dates instead of asking me for money. Even though I blocked my family, I still get the drama updates through Rachel, an old coworker from my hometown who absolutely loves to gossip. The fallout from moving day was catastrophic. With nowhere else to go and the U-Haul racking up daily fees, Tyler and Kayla were forced to move into my parents' dark, unfinished basement. The plan was supposedly temporary, just until they got back on their feet. 6 months later, they are still trapped down there. 3 angry adults, 1 crying baby, and my parents' crumbling marriage, all crammed into a small house. The cryptocurrency disaster I mentioned earlier, it got so much worse after I left. It turned out Tyler had invested way more than just the initial 10 grand. Behind my parents' backs, he had fraudulently opened 2 high-limit credit cards using my dad's social security number. He maxed them out on crypto. He also took out multiple shady payday loans. On top of that, he convinced my parents to liquidate their entire retirement savings to average down on the crashing digital coin. When the market officially bottomed out, Tyler was left holding roughly $70,000 in high-interest debt. Because of the credit card fraud, my parents had to take out a second mortgage on their house just to pay off the angry banks and keep Tyler out of federal prison. Because their retirement fund is gone, my parents are both still working grueling shifts in their mid-60s. Rachel told me my mom looks like she has aged 15 years. My dad's blood pressure is dangerously high. Worse yet, because they took on Tyler's massive debt, they fell completely behind on their own mortgage payments. The bank initiated foreclosure proceedings last month. They are going to lose the house I grew up in. Tyler was finally forced to get a job at a big box hardware store making minimum wage, just folding tarps and sweeping aisles. Kayla got a job at a local coffee shop, but she called in sick so many times complaining about her back that they fired her after exactly 3 weeks. In April, Kayla gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Brianna. Rachel told me Kayla chose my name as some sort of twisted peace offering, hoping it would manipulate me into unlocking my bank accounts and rushing back to save them. When I first heard the baby's name, I saw red. How dare they use my name to score points? But when the anger faded, I just felt a crushing sadness for that innocent little girl. She was born into pure financial and emotional chaos through absolutely no fault of her own. So, I did something I have not told anyone else about. I hired a tough financial lawyer in Chicago. I set up an ironclad, anonymous college fund for my niece. We structured it through a blind trust so my brother and parents can never trace it back to me. The college fund will mature on her 18th birthday. It contains enough cash to cover 4 years of university tuition at a state school, plus a modest living stipend. Tyler and Kayla cannot touch a single dime of it. When little Brianna turns 18, she will have a ticket out of that toxic basement. She deserves better than the childhood I got. My parents tried desperately to reach me. They had old church friends email me about forgiveness. They had distant relatives message me on LinkedIn. I ignored every single one. But last month, a handwritten letter slipped through my defenses. It was forwarded from my old P.O. box. The return address was from an assisted living facility. It was from Gramps, my dad's father. I had avoided him, assuming he sided with my dad. I opened the envelope. The letter was written in his shaky, looping handwriting. Brianna, I heard the absolute truth about what they tried to do with your house. Your mother spun a wild story, but I know exactly how those people operate. I watched them favor Tyler your entire life, and it sickened me. I am so sorry I stayed quiet to keep the peace. I let your father convince me to leave Tyler the bulk of my estate because you were the strong one who would always survive. But I see the truth now. You only survived because you never had the luxury of being weak. I have called my lawyer and changed everything. You will get what is fair. I am so incredibly proud of you for walking away. Love, Gramps. I sat on my expensive living room sofa and wept. They were the first tears I had shed since leaving. Someone finally saw me. Someone finally validated the unfairness of my entire life. Gramps passed away quietly in his sleep 2 months later. He was 92. I flew back to my hometown for the funeral. I wore a black dress, a wide-brimmed hat, and large sunglasses. I sat in the very back row of the church, completely ignoring the shocked stares from my aunts and uncles. I watched my parents cry. I watched Tyler look bored. The second the service ended, I slipped out the heavy wooden doors, got in my rental car, and flew straight back to Chicago before they even made it to the cemetery. The dramatic climax happened at the lawyer's office during the will reading last week. Gramps kept his absolute word. He left Tyler exactly one single dollar bill, sealed in an envelope with a typed note that read, "You took everything you could while I was breathing. It is time to earn your own way." He left my parents nothing. Zero. Every other asset, his paid-off house, his life insurance policies, his stock portfolio came directly to me. After the estate taxes cleared, my massive inheritance totaled roughly $380,000. My parents lost their minds. They immediately hired a cheap lawyer to contest the will, claiming Gramps suffered from dementia when he made the changes. Gramps' attorney pulled out a stack of signed medical evaluations from 3 different neurologists proving Gramps was sharper than a tack until the day he died. The judge threw their case out of court in 5 minutes. Tyler threw a massive tantrum in the lobby, screaming that I had poisoned Gramps against him. He was so aggressive the building security had to physically drag him out onto the sidewalk. The inheritance was the final nail in the coffin for Tyler's marriage. According to Rachel, Kayla finally snapped. When she realized the family cash cow was permanently slaughtered, she packed her bags. She took baby Brianna, drove 2 states away to move back in with her own mother, and officially filed for divorce. She cited extreme financial abuse and emotional neglect. She is demanding full child custody and whatever miserable pennies Tyler earns at the hardware store for child support. Tyler is now completely broke, facing a brutal divorce, and sleeping on an air mattress in a basement his parents are about to lose to the bank. Meanwhile, I am thriving. I used a chunk of my inheritance to buy a gorgeous condo overlooking Lake Michigan. I paid in pure cash. 0 mortgage. The rest is invested securely for my retirement. Last night, I received one final email from an unknown address. It was from my mom. It was a pathetic, begging paragraph asking if there was any chance we could sit down with a mediator and talk about family healing. I hit reply, typed out one single sentence, and hit send. There is absolutely nothing left to reconcile, and I am never coming back. I thought hitting send on that final email to my mother would be the absolute end of it. I thought setting that boundary and walking away with my inheritance would finally force them to face reality. But if you have ever dealt with deeply entitled people, you know they do not just give up when you cut off their supply. They double down. They get desperate. And desperate people do incredibly reckless things. About 3 weeks after the disastrous will reading where my lawyer shut down their ridiculous claims about Gramps' mental state, things escalated from annoying to legally unhinged. I was sitting in my corner office in Chicago. I was reviewing some compliance reports for my new promotion, drinking an iced coffee, just enjoying the quiet hum of the city 20 floors below me. My desk phone rang. It was the receptionist down in the main lobby. She told me there was a process server waiting for me at the front desk. My heart did a strange little flutter. In my line of work, dealing with corporate compliance, legal documents are somewhat normal, but process servers showing up unannounced usually mean bad news. I took the elevator down to the marble lobby. A guy in a plain gray windbreaker handed me a thick manila envelope, asked me to confirm my name, and walked out the glass doors. I opened the envelope right there standing next to the security desk. My parents were actually trying to sue me. They had somehow found a sleazy, strip mall attorney back in my hometown who was willing to file a civil lawsuit against me. They were suing me for repayment of living expenses and educational support, spanning from the time I was born until I turned 18. I am not kidding. They itemized my childhood. They literally included an estimated cost for groceries, electricity, my middle school braces, and a portion of the property taxes for the house I grew up in. They claimed that because I had received the bulk of Gramps' inheritance, I was now legally obligated to reimburse them for the financial burden of raising me, so they could pay off Tyler's massive cryptocurrency debts and save their house from foreclosure. They wanted $250,000. I did not panic. I did not cry. I just started laughing. I laughed so hard the security guard actually asked if I needed him to call an ambulance. It was just so pathetic. It was the ultimate proof that they never saw me as a daughter. I was just an ATM. I was an investment account they felt they had the right to liquidate. I marched back up to my office, scanned the ridiculous documents, and emailed them directly to the brutal financial lawyer I had hired to set up my niece's college fund. I called him 5 minutes later. I asked him if this was a joke. He told me it was worse than a joke. It was a frivolous abuse of the legal system. He said any judge with half a brain would throw this out and sanction the attorney who filed it. Parents are legally required to provide for their minor children. You cannot retroactively bill your offspring for feeding them when they were 12. My lawyer drafted a response that was essentially a legal sledgehammer. He not only filed a motion to dismiss their absurd lawsuit instantly, but he also filed a counter-motion for my legal fees and threatened to report their attorney to the State Bar Association for filing malicious litigation. He sent a separate cease and desist letter by certified mail to my parents' house, explicitly stating that any further contact, harassment, or extortion attempts would result in immediate restraining orders. I heard the fallout of that letter through Rachel, my hometown informant. When my parents realized their lawsuit was dead on arrival and that they might actually have to pay my expensive Chicago lawyers hourly fees, the reality of their situation finally crushed them. The delusion broke. The bank officially finalized the foreclosure on my childhood home the following Tuesday. They had 90 days to vacate the premises. Rachel drove by the house a few weeks later and called me from her car. She said they were holding a massive estate sale on the front lawn. My mom was selling off her precious fine china, the same plates she used at that extortion dinner when they tried to steal my house. She was selling her vintage furniture, my dad's golf clubs, and the heavy oak dining table. Tyler was supposedly sitting on the porch, refusing to help carry boxes, just scrolling on his cracked phone while strangers picked through their belongings for spare change. I asked Rachel how it felt to see it. She said it just looked incredibly sad. A whole family legacy, sold off for pennies on the dollar, all because they refused to hold their golden child accountable. Meanwhile, Tyler's divorce was turning into a bloodbath. Kayla was absolutely ruthless. She realized Tyler had zero assets, zero savings, and was about to be officially homeless once the bank locked the doors on my parents' house. So she went after the only thing she could, his future wages. The custody battle was entirely one-sided. Tyler had no stable residence, a documented history of financial fraud, and a minimum wage job. The judge granted Kayla primary physical custody of baby Brianna without a second thought. Tyler was granted standard visitation, but he did not even have a car to drive the 2 states over to see his daughter, because his beat-up sedan finally broke down and he could not afford a new transmission. The judge also ordered his wages to be heavily garnished for child support. A massive chunk of his miserable $11 an hour paycheck at the hardware store was legally diverted directly to Kayla before he even saw a dime of it. He was 32 years old, legally broke, divorced, living with his newly homeless parents, and taking home a paycheck so small it barely covered his gas station snacks. The golden child had finally tarnished. I would be lying if I said I did not feel a dark sense of satisfaction. When you spend your entire life being told you are the selfish one, watching karma balance the scales is a deeply validating experience. But the satisfaction did not last very long. It quickly faded into a quiet, hollow acceptance. I realized that hating them was still giving them power over my emotions. I had to let the anger go if I wanted to actually enjoy my new life. So, I stopped asking Rachel for updates. I told her I appreciated her loyalty, but I needed to close that chapter completely. I blocked the hometown gossip out of my mind and focused entirely on the future I was building with my own 2 hands. Life has a funny way of testing your boundaries right when you think they are perfectly secure. It was mid-December. The Chicago wind was howling off Lake Michigan, dropping the temperature into the single digits. I was leaving my corporate building at 6 p.m., wrapped in a heavy wool coat, completely exhausted after a massive fourth-quarter compliance audit. I had a dinner date planned with Mark at this fantastic Italian place downtown, and I was just looking forward to a glass of red wine and a warm plate of pasta. I pushed through the heavy glass revolving doors into the freezing plaza. And there he was. Tyler was standing near the concrete planters by the street. He looked terrible. He was wearing a thin, cheap jacket that was definitely not made for a Chicago winter. His shoulders were hunched. His hands were shoved deep into his pockets. And he looked 10 years older than the last time I saw him at the funeral. The arrogance was completely stripped away. He just looked hollow. My feet instantly stopped moving. Every survival instinct in my body screamed at me to turn around, walk back into the lobby, and call building security. But my feet stayed planted on the freezing concrete. He saw me. His eyes went wide, and he started walking quickly toward me, pulling his hands out of his pockets. "Brianna," he called out. His voice cracked against the wind. "Brianna, please, just stop for a second." I stood my ground. I did not shrink back. I pulled my shoulders back and looked him dead in the eye. "What are you doing here, Tyler?" He stopped about 6 feet away from me. He was shivering violently. "I took a Greyhound bus," he stammered, his teeth actually chattering. "Took 12 hours. I used the last of my paycheck. Please, Bree. I just need to talk to you. I am freezing. Can we just go inside? Can we get a coffee?" I did not move an inch. "No. You are not coming inside my building. Say whatever it is you came here to say, and then you are going to walk to the train station and leave." His face crumbled. He looked down at the pavement. "The house is gone, Bree. The bank locked us out last week. Mom and Dad rented a tiny 2-bedroom apartment near the highway. They gave me the couch. The divorce is final. Kayla took the baby. I have nothing. I literally have nothing left." I stared at him. The cold wind whipped my hair across my face. "I know, Tyler. I know you have nothing. But I did not do that to you. You did that to yourself." He looked up at me, his eyes shiny with tears. "I know I screwed up. I know I was a terrible brother. I was selfish. Mom and Dad spoiled me, and I took advantage of it, and I took advantage of you. I see it now. I hit rock bottom. But we are family. You have all that money from Gramps. You have this huge salary now. Just a small loan, Bree. Just $5,000 so I can get a cheap used car and find an apartment. I will pay you back. I swear to God I will pay you back this time. I am changing. Just a small loan." Hearing those exact words come out of his mouth after everything he had done made my stomach turn. It was the same script, the same manipulation. He had not changed. He was just out of options, and he thought if he played the pathetic victim out in the freezing cold, my old programming would kick in and I would write him a check. I looked at this man who shared my DNA. I looked at the golden boy who tried to steal my house, who let my parents drain their retirement for his crypto scams, who ruined his own marriage. I felt absolutely nothing for him. No anger, no pity, just a cold, hard indifference. "Tyler," I said, my voice cutting cleanly through the wind. "I am going to say this once, and I need you to listen very carefully because I will never repeat it. I am not your safety net anymore. I am not your backup plan. I do not care that you hit rock bottom. You are a 32-year-old man. You need to figure your own life out. I am not giving you a single dollar. Not today. Not ever." He stared at me, his face twisting from pathetic desperation back into that familiar, ugly entitlement. "You are really going to let your own brother freeze out here? You are a selfish, cold-hearted B***tch, Brianna. You always have been. You think you are so much better than us just because you have money now." There it was. The real Tyler. The mask slipped the second he realized the ATM was permanently closed. I smiled. A genuine, peaceful smile. "You are right, Tyler. I am better than this. Have a safe bus ride home." I turned my back on him and walked down the street toward the Italian restaurant. I did not look back. I heard him yell my name one more time, but his voice was swallowed by the sound of the city traffic. I kept walking. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Mark saying he had secured a table by the window and ordered my favorite wine. I walked into the warm, glowing restaurant, took off my heavy coat, and sat down across from a man who actually valued me. We ate incredible food. We laughed. We talked about his week. I did not mention Tyler. Tyler was a ghost from a past life that no longer had any power over my present. That was 3 years ago. Today, my life is unrecognizable from the girl who used to sit at that dining room table desperate for her parents' approval. Mark and I got married last spring. We had a small, beautiful ceremony in a botanical garden here in Chicago. My friends stood by my side. My corporate mentor, Jennifer, gave a toast. Not a single person from my biological family was invited, and my wedding day was completely perfect, completely drama-free. My career has exploded. I am now the director of regional compliance for my firm. I make a salary I never even dreamed was possible when I was working 2 jobs to pay for college. The condo I bought with Gramps' inheritance has doubled in value. I still have the college fund set up for my niece, little Brianna. My lawyer sends me quarterly statements on the trust's growth. It is sitting safely in a diversified index fund, compounding year after year. By the time she turns 18, she will have over $150,000 waiting for her. She will have the ultimate tool to break the cycle of poverty and manipulation she was born into. She will have choices. I sometimes think about my parents and my brother, but the thoughts pass quickly, like clouds moving across the sky. I do not wish them harm, but I do not wish them well either. They are just strangers who used to know me. They chose their path, and they are living the exact life they built for themselves. I built my own life, a life based on hard work, mutual respect, and ironclad boundaries. And that brings me to the absolute most important part of this entire story. The reason I decided to sit down, turn on this camera, and bare my soul to thousands of strangers on the internet. Listen to me very closely, guys. Society, movies, and culture constantly shove this toxic narrative down our throats that family is everything. We are conditioned to believe that just because you share blood with someone, you owe them endless loyalty, endless forgiveness, and endless access to your resources, your peace of mind, and your home. That is a dangerous lie. Toxicity is toxicity, regardless of whether it comes from a stranger on the street or the mother who gave birth to you. You do not owe anyone your financial security. You do not owe anyone your mental health. Being the bigger person or the reliable one should never mean being a human doormat for people who refuse to take responsibility for their own choices. If you are watching this right now, and you are the reliable one in your family, If you are the one always bailing out a sibling, or loaning money to parents who never pay you back, or sitting at dinners where your achievements are ignored while someone else's failures are celebrated, I am giving you permission to walk away. You have the right to build a sanctuary for yourself. You have the right to lock the doors to that sanctuary. Establishing boundaries is not an act of cruelty. It is the ultimate act of self-preservation. Breaking a generational cycle of abuse and financial irresponsibility hurts. It is terrifying. You will be called selfish. You will be called the villain in their story. Let them call you whatever they want. Their opinion of you does not pay your mortgage, and it does not protect your peace. Protect your peace at all costs. I want to know what you guys think about all of this. What is the biggest lesson you took away from my experience? Have you ever had to cut off a toxic family member to protect your own life? Drop your stories in the comments below. Let's build a community that supports choosing mental health over toxic loyalty. Or, if this story just gave you a little bit of courage today, just drop the word good down in the comments, so I know this message reached the people who needed to hear it. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, protect your peace, and never let anyone steal the life you built.